In news, we're CBS News Radio 78, WBBM, Chicago.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Slander, whose edge is sharper than the sword, and whose tongue outvenoms all the worms of the Nile. From which we can see that Mr. Shakespeare did not look kindly upon slander. And yet, what would we ever do without it? With what would we fill our newspapers, our news broadcasts? What a world. Somebody's always eager, willing, and able to give us the dirt about somebody else. And we can't wait to hear it.
How much money do you think she made, Captain?
I don't know. How much money would a cleaning woman take home?
This one took home just over $100 a week. On that kind of salary, how much money do you think she gave to charity?
I don't know. Not an awful lot.
How about $10,000 a year?
What?
And sometimes even more.
Our mystery drama, Wastepaper, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Kim Hunter. I'll be back shortly with Act One.
Maxwell House is coffee you can count on. Maxwell House, good to the last drop. Maxwell House is...
Good morning.
Maxwell House is...
Good company.
Good to the last drop. Maxwell House.
Maxwell House, coffee you can count on. Always smells good, always tastes good, always good to the last drop.
Maxwell House is...
Good coffee.
Good to the last drop. Maxwell House.
Join hands with CARE to improve the lives of the world's needy children. Tomorrow's world is in our hands. We can help make it a better place for all the children.
Join hands with people everywhere. Each of us can do our share in CARE's crusade for children.
Please send your check or money order to CARE, Crusade for Children Overseas, Box 576, New York 10016.
You say you've got a ceiling that's looking a little bit frazzled, stained, cracked, crummy, yicky, glorky, or glumpy? Then you're just the person we want to talk to. Right now, there's a super sale on Armstrong ceilings. A super sale. And you can put a new ceiling on a 10 by 12 room for as little as $50. That includes everything you need. Everything. And the very best Armstrong ceiling will only cost about $140 during this super sale. And you can easily install an Armstrong ceiling yourself. First quality Armstrong ceilings now on super sale. For as little as $50, you can turn that grungy ceiling into something very pretty, very practical, and very functional. And we know just the place to go to get in on this Armstrong ceiling super sale. So, listen.
Sale ends Saturday at all P.G. Berlin's Discount Home Improvement Centers and Plywood, Minnesota at 3250 North Kedzie Avenue in Chicago. Also, visit Edward Hines lumber stores, including Lombard and Montgomery, Illinois.
As long as crime is regarded as wicked, it will always have its fascination. When it is looked upon as vulgar, it will cease to be popular. It was Oscar Wilde, I think, who said something like that. And so, the major preoccupation of our society seems to be crime. After all, what fills most of the space on today's front pages? So let us proceed with our story, which begins in the office of Roger Williams, a captain of detectives.
Send Melrose in here. Captain Williams here. No, nothing. Blank and zero. Yep, bear with me. I'm putting one of my best people on it.
You sent for me, Captain?
I have an assignment for you, Detective Milrose.
Did somebody lose a dog?
Why, Milrose, you're with homicide now.
Oh, did somebody kill a dog?
I have a nice little case for you.
Mm-hmm. A little something tucked away someplace where I can't do any harm.
Now, Milrose, I have a homicide for you.
A homicide?
See? It happens. Finally, your very own homicide.
What kind of homicide?
Well, it's not a page 1 homicide.
Naturally.
Don't say naturally. Already the morning paper has called for details. Make sure they spell your name with 2 L's, and so your career is launched.
What are the details, Captain?
The lady's name was Martha Malone, age 52.
A woman.
Well, yes, I thought you might be more comfortable with a woman.
Why?
Well, you're a woman, aren't you?
Yes, Captain.
Oh, Mrs. Malone was a widow. She worked as a cleaning lady. She was murdered last night. Here are the details on the sheet. And now, Detective Milrose, it's all yours.
He means well. They all mean well. I suppose they can't help it. They were raised that way. Well, at least he gave me a case. Well, he had to. I guess he wanted to be able to say, look, in my division, women detectives are right out there in the field. So, what have I got here? A cleaning woman killed. Why, how, and by whom? How is easy. A .32 caliber bullet through the heart. That was in the medical report. She worked for a firm called Novelties Incorporated.
Yes. Who? Oh, well, yes, have him come in. Yes?
I'm Detective Milrose.
You're Detective Milrose. Well, I thought that,
Yes?
Nothing.
You are Stanley J. Drone?
Yes, that is correct, yes.
You're president of Novelties Incorporated?
Well, to be accurate, and I suppose we must in these things, I am vice president and chief executive officer.
You employed a Mrs. Martha Malone.
Oh, yes, terrible thing, just terrible.
How long had she worked for you?
9 years.
Did you know Mrs. Malone very well?
Well, just as the char lady, or the cleaning woman.
And then you didn't really know her?
Well, I was aware of the fact that she existed some evenings. Yes, I might stay late, and there was this lady, drably dressed, in a working costume, yes, and she would be going about her business.
Did you ever speak to her?
Well, in more than 9 years, what did I ever say to her? I say, good evening, and yes, I'm through here, and you may start to clean.
That was the extent of your conversation?
Yes. Isn't it remarkable?
This building, do you occupy all of it?
Yes. It's mostly offices, but we use some space for warehousing.
What is the nature of Novelties Incorporated?
We import merchandise from the Far East, from Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, and so forth.
What sort of merchandise?
Little novelties, drinking glasses, and music boxes, small figurines, and so forth.
What's worth stealing?
Not very much. You'd have to load a very large truck with enough of the merchandise to make it profitable.
Mm-hmm. Money?
Oh, no, none to speak of. We're a wholesale house, and we're paid, and we pay by check, and various commercial paper. There isn't any cash worth considering.
Mr. Drone, I understand you were the one who found the body.
Yes. You see, I'm usually the first to arrive in the morning.
Can you describe what you saw?
Well, I told the police officer.
I know. Please, tell it again.
Yes, that makes sense. Well, I arrived here at 6:30, and I drove my car around to the back entrance. I took out my key, and I opened the rear door, and I walked in. And then I heard it. The vacuum cleaner. Oh, my goodness, I said to myself, is the cleaning lady still here?
Just a minute. When you described this to the police officer, you didn't mention a vacuum cleaner.
Well, the state I was in.
You heard the vacuum cleaner. This one here?
Yes, I haven't had a chance to, well, anyhow, it has a certain sound to it.
Yes?
Let me turn it on. You hear it? Usually the sound goes up and down because it's moving around and working. But when it's just on, it just has that same steady hum.
I understand.
You mind if I turn it off?
Well, honestly, every time I hear a vacuum cleaner again, I'm going to have a nightmare. Well, it was coming from my office, so I walked in. And there she was, lying on the floor, and I could see the blood, and I knew she was dead.
That vacuum cleaner is very loud, isn't it?
Yes, something's loose there, I think. I've been meaning to have it fixed, but, I guess now I'll just get rid of it.
Thank you, Mr. Drone.
There's nothing else you want to ask me?
Not at this time.
Yep, you ready to type it up?
I haven't even begun, Captain.
Well, what have you been doing all morning, Milrose?
I spoke to Mr. Drone, her employer.
And what could he tell you?
Well?
He's not a witness. You understand that, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, all he did was find the body. There are no witnesses.
Yes, but...
Milrose, all we've got is a dead old lady.
She was only 52.
And we've got the bullet that killed her. And that's all. We've got no place to go.
But why was she killed?
We may never know. That's what happens so much of the time. These things just fade away.
You haven't answered my question. Why was she killed?
Somebody came to burglarize the place.
Mr. Drone says there was nothing of value to be stolen.
Okay, but the thief doesn't know that. He's just freelancing along. He blunders into the poor cleaning lady. Maybe she screams. Maybe he panics. And he shoots her.
I don't think so.
You don't?
He didn't blunder into her.
Well, how do you know?
The vacuum cleaner. It could be heard all over the building.
What vacuum cleaner?
Drone says when he opened up, he heard the vacuum cleaner. It must have been going on all night. Or are you telling me the thief shot her and then turned the vacuum on? Why would he do that? The answer is he didn't. No, he knew she was there. He could have avoided her or backed away and called it off. No. He killed her deliberately.
Maybe. But he could have confronted her to ask her, where's the safe, or some question like that.
He'd have had to make her turn the vacuum cleaner off. With that racket, you could hardly hear yourself think.
No, Rose, you're introducing a complication. And so I have to ask you the question you've been asking me. Why was she killed?
I don't know. I want to find out.
I'll give you one more day.
One more day?
Police work has become a matter of logistics and production. We must invest our resources where we have the greatest chance of a tangible return.
It was hard to admit it, but he was right. On any given day, there can be 2, 3, 4, as many as 5 or even 6 murders in a city the size of ours. And they keep piling up. Some of them you can never solve. It's like casualties in wartime. You try first to save those with the best chance of recovery.
Listen, Detective, don't become personally involved with your cases. Don't allow them to become part of you. Sometimes you just have to let them go.
I still have a day.
I know you feel a deep sympathy for this poor old lady, but without facts, evidence, and material we can hand to the prosecuting attorney, there'll be nothing we can do.
May I help you, Detective Milrose?
Father Lisinski, one of your parishioners, Mrs. Martha Malone.
Ah, yes, poor Mrs. Malone.
What can you tell me about her?
Detective, we are talking about a saint.
A saint?
Of course, she was one of the many millions of charitable, warm-hearted people to whom religion was a vital, dynamic, and living thing.
Do you know of any reason why anyone should wish to kill her?
Kill her? Oh, no, never. Not deliberately.
You say she was a good woman?
She lived to do charity.
Charity?
Yes, the most wonderful of all charity. That charity which is done quietly, without ostentation, without thought of reward or approval.
Oh, can you tell me about this charity, Father?
While she lived, she imposed silence upon me. But now that she has gone, the world should know who she was.
Who was she?
A soul of kindness and generosity. She donated thousands of dollars each year.
Thousands? How many thousands of dollars, Father?
Oh, she would give 6, 7, sometimes 10,000.
I see.
She would bring me the money at intervals during the year, and she would say, Father, use this as you see fit. Pay poor families' rent. See that the poor youngster may have tuition for college.
And 1 year she actually gave you $10,000?
Yes, actually it was last year.
$10,000?
And it did so much good. So much good.
Yes, I'm sure of it. Sorry to bother you again, Mr. Drone.
No, please. Anything I can do.
How much did you pay Mrs. Malone?
I have the figures right here. Her take-home pay was, it would average $113.09 a week.
Would you know if she had another source of income?
Well, I would assume that if she had another source of income, she wouldn't work as charwoman. Or perhaps, yet I have no right to make that assumption.
How did you pay? Cash or check?
Oh, a payroll check. Our policy is to have very little cash on hand.
And then she would have to go someplace to cash the check.
Yes. I have one here. It was canceled by the Citizens National.
I see. Thank you very much, Mr. Drone. Captain, she was taking home $113.09 a week. That's $5,880.68 a year. And do you follow this?
Where's it going?
She paid $122.40 a month for rent. That's over $1,400 a year.
Well, why is it important to know this?
And then there were food, clothes, medical bills, car fare, and all the rest.
So?
So you would think she could barely make it through the year. Maybe not at all.
All right.
So last year, where did she get $10,000 to donate to charity?
That's a good question. Certainly it's thought-provoking. Where is she, or was she, getting that kind of money? Her employer insists that there's practically no cash to speak of in the Novelties Incorporated building. But obviously, the place is a gold mine. We'll do some prospecting when I return with Act 2.
Introduce yourself to a remarkable nasal spray that lasts and lasts up to 12 continuous hours. Duration nasal spray relieves up to 12 continuous hours. Duration relieves nasal stuffiness and sinus congestion. So just one use lets you work all day. Just one use lets you sleep all night. Duration relieves 12 continuous hours. And that's Duration, with the longest lasting nasal decongestant. Use only as directed when needed.
Here's a tax tip from the Internal Revenue Service. If you're a working parent who paid a babysitter or childcare facility to watch your children, you may be eligible for a tax credit. Don't overlook this important benefit if you paid childcare in 1978. You can get IRS Publication 503 on childcare by using the mail order form in your tax package or by calling the IRS toll-free number listed in your telephone directory.
Coca-Cola Life's got the taste and the feeling you like.
Prizes for Coca-Cola Bottlers' great grocery giveaway include a free 10-minute shopping spree at your favorite food store, grocery cash certificates worth $50 to $500, or a month's supply of Coke. Get entry blanks and details at participating stores where you buy Coke. Entries must be received by April 11th.
Coca-Cola adds life.
No purchase required, void where prohibited.
You've heard us talk about a family of Ford dealers. Packy Webb Ford, Lorraine and Roosevelt Road in Wheaton, and Webb Ford, 9809 Indianapolis Boulevard in Highland, Indiana. The Webb family is more than a name. It's a promise. Their promise of low prices, of great service, of 2 inventories from which to choose at 2 convenient locations. For a really great deal, go to Packy Webb Ford, Lorraine and Roosevelt Road in Wheaton, or Webb Ford, 9809 Indianapolis Boulevard in Highland, Indiana.
Annual income, £20. Annual expenditure, £19. Result, happiness. Annual income, 20 pounds. Annual expenditure, 21 pounds. Result, misery. That made very good sense when Mr. Dickens wrote it. Spend less than you make. But we are confronted by a poor lady who only made some $6,000 a year, and yet was able to donate $10,000 to charity.
How did she do it?
I don't know.
Did she have another source of income?
We don't know.
Money in the bank?
She cashed her paychecks at Citizens, but she didn't have an account there.
Did she have an account anywhere else? A safe deposit box?
I don't know.
Well, why don't you find out, Detective Milrose?
I'll need more than a day, Captain Williams.
Take 2 days.
I needed 3, and I even had help. There was nothing. We searched her flat. No sign of any money or any place it could be coming from. Where'd she be getting that money?
She could have stolen it from the building.
But Mr. Drone assures me there's nothing to speak of on the premises.
Merchandise. She took the stuff home and sold it.
She'd have to steal so much it would have been noticed. Especially enough to add up to $10,000.
Well, now, Detective, you've reached that point.
What point?
Where you come up with a theory.
Oh.
Well, you better have one. You see, I assigned you originally because I figured it was a day's work and into the files. But you came up with that vacuum cleaner. So that knocked out the surprise sneak thief angle. Now we find out she was a lady of means. So, A, why was she working as a cleaning woman? And B, where was she getting that money?
But I don't have any theories yet.
Well, the chief inspector's going to want a theory. Do you think you can have one by the end of the day?
By the end of the day?
Well, it doesn't have to be right. Just make it sound plausible.
Theory. Whoever came into the building that night came to see Mrs. Martha Malone, and not to rob the place. Whoever it was, he or they didn't come to discuss anything at all with her, because he or they didn't bother to shut off the noisy vacuum cleaner. So she was marked for death. Therefore, it was an execution. But for what reason? I had to talk to Mr. Drone again. Sorry to bother you, Mr. Drone.
Oh, no, Detective Milrose. Is that the proper way to address you as a detective?
Yes, Detective Milrose. As far as we know, you were the last one who saw Mrs. Martha Malone alive.
Yes, I believe you could say that. Yes.
Except for the killer.
Oh, well, naturally, yes.
You worked late that night?
Yes, until about 9 p.m. We have so much paperwork, even with computers. It was absolutely staggering.
You say you worked till 9 p.m., and Mrs. Martha Malone arrived while you were still there?
Yes, I could hear her at work, yes.
Then when you left, you said goodnight to her?
Oh, yes, certainly.
There was no one else in the building?
No one who had any legitimate business here.
You didn't see or hear anyone?
No one. No.
Uh-huh. How did you leave the building?
How?
Well, there are 2 doors, one front and one rear.
Oh, yeah, by the rear door.
Was the door locked?
Oh, yes. We locked both doors, the front and rear, at 6 o'clock.
And the front door, when you left, was that locked also?
Yes, I always check it before leaving. It's a reflex action, you might say.
So you opened the rear door and locked it after you left?
Yes.
So then, as far as you know, Mrs. Martha Malone was all by herself in the locked building?
Yes, you could say that, yes.
Who carries a key to the building?
I do.
Anyone else?
Mrs. Malone did, yes.
And no one else?
No.
When Mrs. Malone came to work, I assume she filled out an application.
Oh, yes, I have it here.
Whom did she list as next of kin? Or a person to be notified?
Well, let me see. Nobody.
No one at all?
Oh, yeah, you can see the space. It's empty.
Do all your employees have insurance policies?
Oh, yes. You'd be surprised what I have to pay in the so-called friendship.
Did Mrs. Malone have one?
Oh, absolutely.
Whom did she list as beneficiary?
One moment. Yes, here it is. Father Stephen Lasinski of St. Mary's Church.
Thank you, Mr. Drone. checked with the morgue. Who had claimed Mrs. Malone's body for burial? The answer, Father Stephen Lisinski.
After all she had done, I was not going to allow that beautiful soul to disappear into a nameless pauper's grave.
I see. Father Lisinski, are you aware that you are the beneficiary of her insurance policy?
Oh, yes. She told me to use the money for those in want.
Why should she leave you the money?
It's not uncommon for people to leave their money to the church.
Yes, but she left it to you, personally.
Oh, even to the most devout, the church can sometimes seem extremely large and impersonal. I was someone she could talk with, relate to.
But didn't she have a family?
Well, she never spoke of anyone. She gave me what for a poor working woman would be a considerable sum of money.
Yes.
And I would say to her, Martha, are you sure you're not neglecting your own? And she would answer, the poor, everywhere, are my very own.
Did she have any friends?
She kept her own counsel. We have many activities in the church here, social affairs. I did want her to become involved, but she would always answer, I am not a mixer.
Her name was Mrs. Martha Malone. What about Mr. Malone?
I don't know. She never spoke of him.
And that's all you can tell me about her, Father Lisinski?
I'm so sorry. I wish I could be of greater assistance. Excuse me. Yes. Oh, I don't know about that. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure we can count on it anymore. Now, perhaps I can call her former employer and explain the situation. Yes, I have to let you know. Goodbye. Talking about Mrs. Malone, this was another example of her good works. This call I just received.
Yes?
You see, there was considerable waste paper at her building. Very nice quality. The small packages that they imported would be wrapped in it. At the end of the day, she would gather all these wrappings and bring them here.
Why?
It would be part of our scrap drive, and it would be worth some money when we disposed of it. Over the years, it amounted to a respectable sum. I must call her employer to see if he'll permit us to continue.
Well, thank you very much, Father.
So, here we are, Detective Milrose.
Where are we, Captain Williams?
At that point where we must face the files.
You mean this case is about to be closed?
I'm afraid so.
No.
Why not?
This woman was murdered.
So were 9 other people since her body was discovered.
But obviously somebody was out to kill her.
I've already bought that.
How can we just drop it?
We're not dropping it. We're merely concentrating our resources in areas which may be more productive of results.
Look, no matter how you slice it, Captain.
Okay, I know. It sounds like a great case. An ordinary cleaning woman dispenses large sums of money to her church charities. Where does she get it? That's number 1.
And that's not all.
She's deliberately murdered.
Why?
That's a very good question. Furthermore, this woman is absolutely alone in the world. No friends, no family, no criminal record.
There's too much in this case to just drop it.
Give me an angle to let you follow. Open up a lead. Right now, knowing all you do, fired up as you are, where are you going to go? What's the next thing you're going to do?
I don't know.
Well, this is the critical moment, Detective Milrose. All right, you need a break. Something has to happen, some kind of insight, some kind of clue. You simply have to get lucky.
I know that.
All right, let me see if I can help you. Give me Jerry Marks of the Journal Herald. Yeah, hold on.
I could use a break. I don't want to let it go.
I know. But a couple of more important people have been killed this week.
More important?
Well, more noteworthy, more newsworthy, of more interest to the community at large. Oh, yeah, Jerry. Look, that old cleaning woman that was killed last week.
She wasn't old.
Yeah. Well, could you run a picture of her?
There's a good shot from the morgue.
Yeah, Jerry, I know that nobody cares. Yeah, I know it was last week's murder. Look, let me put it this way. Why don't you do it? Because I'm asking you to.
Are you you Detective Milrose?
Yes.
My name is Poster, James Poster, Jr.
Yes, Mr. Poster.
You're the person in charge of the Malone murder thing?
Yes.
Well, it said in the paper if anyone had any information.
Do you have any information, Mr. Poster?
Well, I saw the picture in the paper, and I recognized it at once. I couldn't be mistaken. It was Martha. She was 10 years older, but the face, that beautiful face.
Did you know her?
Did I know her? My life hasn't been the same since.
Oh, all right, Mr. Poster. What can you tell me?
I think it's the same Martha Malone. Martha Malone, who had to be the world's greatest account supervisor.
Account supervisor?
Yes, at Poster and Pine. We only happen to be the 14th largest advertising agency in America, which for all practical purposes means the world.
And she was an account supervisor?
And could she ever turn and twist a client like a lump of inert putty?
And that's what she did. She was in advertising.
My dear detective, she was not in advertising. She was advertising.
And she made money.
Money? My goodness.
Well, why did she leave? Why did she become a cleaning woman?
Well, I didn't know she'd become a cleaning woman. I only know she dropped out of sight completely.
Why?
Well, it happened after Walter had been killed.
Walter?
Yes, her husband. It's just one of those terrible, unfortunate things.
Yes?
Well, one of her accounts was a company that made small sporting airplanes, and her husband was an enthusiastic amateur pilot. He was killed while he was flying one.
Oh?
Yes, and unhappily, there had been talk of some defective components in the manufacture.
Yes?
Well, you see, she insisted in all her copy that the planes were perfectly safe.
Oh, I understand.
Yes, and the day after he died, she said to me, I have been punished. I've led a life filled with falsehood, and now I shall do penance for the rest of my days. She was a very dramatic person.
Did she say anything else?
Yes, she said, from now on, I'll devote my life to hard labor and to charity. I'll give up everything I used to live for, all the vanities of the world. And next day, she was gone.
Just like that?
She vanished without a trace, emptied her bank accounts, sold everything. I never saw her again.
She was a wealthy woman?
Well, aside from her salary, she must have had several $100,000.
And she gave it all up to become a cleaning woman.
But why was she murdered? What did poor, wonderful Martha Malone ever do to anyone?
That's the problem. And it's been the problem since the very opening moments of Act One. And it seems that the more we learn about Mrs. Martha Malone, the less we really know about her. Well, all we can do now is wait for the third act.
I'm proud to be a member of a great team, and I'm equally proud of my family, Stormy, my wife, and our 2 children. They're both healthy, normal kids. But you know, there are some children in this world, in your neighborhood, who are not so lucky. They were born with handicaps, injured in accidents, or disabled by illness. All they want is an equal chance with other children to work, to play, to learn, and to feel they will have a place in the world when they grow up. The Easter Seal Society is preparing both children and adults for tomorrow, rehabilitating them, giving them a chance to become self-respecting citizens. That's why I support the work of Easter Seals. As a member of the National Easter Seal Sports Council, we hope you support your local Easter Seals program. It's a great way to help handicapped people.
You want a truck or van? John Morelli Ford Honda has something important to say to you. They're having a truck and van sale. But it's not any old sale. It's a sale that'll knock your tailgate off. John Morelli Ford Honda is knocking 25% off list price on every truck and van on John Morelli's lot. And that is a lot, because John Morelli has the largest truck inventory in Chicagoland. And that means selection. 25% off means you save a truckload. Think of it, 25% off. 25% off any regular or four-wheel drive pickup, van, trick van, Ranchero, and Bronco four-wheeler. Add it up in your head. 25% off list price. John Morelli has greatly expanded his truck line, adding hundreds of trucks, adding many factory-trained mechanics, and thousands of dollars worth of parts. So come to John Morelli Ford Honda and save yourself 25% off list price on any truck or van on John Morelli's lot. John Morelli Ford Honda, Western Avenue at Route 30 in Olympia Fields.
This is WBBM Chicago.
The wonder is not that so few murders are solved, but that so many are. When the motives are obvious, when the witnesses are present, there is basically no problem. It's that random killing of someone for no apparent reason by no one we know of that usually slips into the back of the file folder. It may be filled with fascinating possibilities and intriguing twists and turns, but there is nothing solid for the police to investigate. So, since they can't, they don't. Is that what's building up here?
All right. You've got an angle. That airplane outfit she was doing the advertising for. Maybe somebody who lost someone had it in for her.
Oh, in the first place, the average person wouldn't blame her, but the company.
I'll check it out anyhow.
I did. There was a defective part, all right. But only her husband was killed.
Yeah. Well, Detective, how do you feel?
Don't take me off it.
I won't. You have a whole new world to play with. Her past life, the glamorous lady. Did she have any enemies there?
Oh, this Mr. Poster says she was well-liked.
An attractive woman is never well-liked by everyone. We could assume that someone from her past tracked her down after 10 years and managed to get into the place where she worked and shot her.
I say she was killed because of a situation in the Novelties Incorporated building.
Well, you've already established there was nothing to steal there.
I thought we both agreed the object was not to steal anything, but to kill her.
Why?
I'm ruling out the past.
Yeah, but the public doesn't. See here? Tonight's paper. You're on page 3. Murdered cleaning lady turns out to be former top drawer advertising executive.
You gave that to the press?
Oh, why not? Can't do any harm, and it keeps them happy. It also keeps you on the case. And we have a lead we can justify.
But it's all there, in that building.
What's all there?
I don't know what, but she was murdered. I looked at her picture. Not the mugshot from the morgue, but a glossy portrait that Mr. Poster had let me have. It showed a spectacularly beautiful woman in her early 40s. Her face was not only lovely to look at, but you could sense that she was a woman of keen intelligence. And she had chosen to spend the rest of her life on her knees, doing penance. Oh, that I could understand. But murder, why was she murdered?
Go back over the same ground.
But I've been over it and over it. I can only talk to 2 people, really, Father Lisinski and Mr. Drone.
Talk to them.
But they've already told me everything they know.
People are always remembering little things. Drone told you something he neglected to mention to the first cop on the scene?
No, you mean the vacuum cleaner.
That vacuum cleaner is what put you in business.
All right, I'll try again.
It's your very own little case, Detective. You have to nourish it. Keep it alive.
No, Detective Milrose. I know nothing of her past life.
And therefore you would know none of her associates or her problems there, if any.
None at all. Excuse me. Yes. Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, well, why don't I take care of it right now while I'm thinking about it? Let me call you back. That was the chairman of our scrap paper committee. Would you excuse me? I have to call... Oh, where's that number? I looked it up. Here it is. Odd that you should be here. This has to do with Mrs. Malone indirectly.
Mrs. Malone?
I'm trying to continue her good work. Hello, Novelties Incorporated. May I speak with Mr. Drone? Yes, I'm Father Lezinski of St. Mary's Church. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Drone. Yes. As you know, Mrs. Malone used to supply us with some very nice paper from your plant. Well, nice as it was scrap which was being thrown out. We were selling it to raise money for our parish charities, and I was wondering if I could have a man pick it up. Well, yes. Oh, I understand. Oh, yes, of course. Well, thank you, sir, in any event. He says he can do it.
Oh?
He says he has made arrangements with a scavenger who pays him for the paper. Of course, I can see his point of view.
Yes, that's true.
It's odd.
What is?
It may have been my imagination, but he seemed quite frightened.
Frightened?
I think so.
You're sure the word is frightened?
Detective Milrose, I'm more than sure. I know.
Was this the break? The lead? The sudden flash of insight? I looked at Father Lezinski. I smiled to myself. If something really came of this, I would call it the revelation. I hope I'm not imposing again, Mr. Drone.
No, Detective Milrose. I'm glad to be of help.
I understand that Mrs. Malone used to collect the waste paper and donate it to her church.
You mean the wrappings?
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
I understand that since her death, you've made other arrangements to dispose of them.
Yes, I now sell them to a private scavenger.
I see.
A fellow comes by with a van at the end of the day.
Who is he?
Well, I believe I told you he's a private scavenger.
What made you choose him? Did you go looking for a scavenger?
No. As a matter of fact, he was, I would assume, going about soliciting business. He came in off the street, you might say.
Well, then it was rather something of a coincidence.
What was?
That right after Mrs. Malone died, he should call on you.
Oh, no. It wasn't really. He called on me before.
Oh.
Yes, several times this past year.
Well, why didn't you sell him the paper then?
Well, I was going to. It certainly made sense, don't you know? It would be the same as throwing money away.
Well, so why didn't you?
Well, I had called Mrs. Malone into my office to tell her that she could no longer have the waste paper.
And what did Mrs. Malone say?
Yeah, nothing. You see, and I couldn't tell her.
You couldn't? Why not?
Well, every time I was about to, there was a look on her face.
What sort of look?
Well, I don't know, but I was afraid of that look.
Why?
Because it was the kind of look that seemed to go right through you. As if it could read every secret in your head, don't you know?
Oh.
So the next time this scavenger came around to solicit the business, I just told him I'd made other arrangements. That my cleaning woman was donating the waste paper to her church drive.
Well, what did he say?
Well, he didn't say anything.
When did this discussion take place?
Well, I'm not sure. It must have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, yes.
What is this scavenger's name?
It is A.J. Scoop, carting service.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drone.
Oh, yeah, if I can ever be of any more help, Detective.
Oh, here, in your wastebasket here. This is some of the wrapping paper. May I have a few pieces?
Oh, well, why, of course.
Thank you again, Mr. Drone.
Well, what have you got?
Well, I thought I might have something. This paper.
Well?
He imports little novelties and knickknacks from the Far East. This is what they're wrapped in. Everywhere I turn in this case, I come up against waste paper. She was collecting it. Somebody else wants to collect it. So I had the paper sent to the lab.
Why?
Well, suppose they're smuggling drugs. There might be some traces.
Were there?
No. Well, there might be an espionage angle. Photos, messages in invisible ink of some sort.
Man.
No.
You want some help?
Sure.
Feel the paper. Smooth it out. Okay. And now crackle it in your fingers. Well?
I should have known. I should have known.
It's okay. You're entitled to a little help in your very first case. Hey, look. We would have never gotten here without you. That's the pickup van. And here's the address. A.J. Scoop Carting.
Carting, we know what they're doing, Captain.
Oh, there seems to be quite a few people there now. Yeah, we're probably able to bag everyone. You sure you want to go in?
It's my collar, Captain.
All right, let's go. Everett, Harry, follow us. Joe and Max, take the back and sides. You know what you ought to do now, don't you? You got to get a warrant, so you're entitled to do it.
What?
The cops do this all in the movies. Kick in the door.
I'm wearing high heels.
You want me to do it? It'll still be your collar.
Go ahead. Police officers, stay where you are.
There you are. Page 1, the Herald. Page 2, the Record. Your first story. Detective Gertrude Milrose was responsible for the line of investigation that led to the arrest of a major counterfeiting ring.
I had a great deal of help, Captain.
The case was broken when Detective Milrose discovered that the paper used to wrap the novelties, which was imported from the Far East, is a very distinctive grade of Chinese rice paper, which is ideal for use in counterfeit bills. It is, by sheer coincidence, the closest match to the genuine paper used by the Treasury and is almost impossible to obtain.
And that was why she was killed. Waste paper. Just because of some waste paper.
Waste paper. Have you any concept of the staggering amounts that pile up every day? So much paper. Indeed, waste paper may be truly said to be the basic debris of our society. Well, we may waste paper, but not time. So in a little while, I shall be back with you. And breath. So many murders, so few solutions, and well, we know why. Needed is the flash of insight, that crystal moment of clarity when everything comes together. Indeed, it is like the vision of creativity to the artist. Artists and detectives, we don't tend to think of them in the same terms, but why shouldn't we? Without that certain something called inspiration, for all their hard labor, they are doomed to remain in the dark. Our cast included Kim Hunter, Lloyd Batista, and Earl Hammond. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale.
Now, these gems, do you generally keep them here in your apartment in a jewel box on your dresser?
No, I usually have them in the vault. Except tonight, I was at a formal dinner, and I thought I would...
Do you mind if I use the telephone?
No, I don't mind.
Thank you.
Is it possible he could have seen me and followed me home? I understand jewel thieves. Scout, is that the word? Places where wealthy people go.
Excuse me. This is Lieutenant Silverio. I'm at the Patterson place. Yeah. Oh, he got away with a few nice things. The M.O. fits our old friend, the cat burglar. Yeah, the one who can climb up and down the walls.
The cat burglar?
Yeah, Jerry. I think he can chalk up another one.
Mrs. E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Till next time, pleasant dreams.
Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Today, a story from the files of the world-renowned Pinkerton National Detective Agency, the first law enforcement agency doing detective and police work in the United States. It was founded by Alan Pinkerton in 1850 and carried on by his sons, William and Robert. Such was their reputation that, it has been said, had they been guarding President Lincoln that night at Ford's Theater, Lincoln would never have been assassinated. But today, we pull the files marked train robberies.
Tell me again, Mr. Newton, what you remember of the robbery of the Rock Island train.
Oh, I'm glad to, Mr. Pinkerton. They say the Pinkertons always get their man.
Well, we try to. I'll be frank with you, Mr. Newton. We have been keeping track of you.
Keeping track of me? You mean you've been having me followed?
I'm afraid I do.
Well, am I under suspicion?
In a case like this, everyone is suspect.
Our mystery drama, The Pinkerton Method, was dramatized from the files of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, especially for Mystery Theater, by James Agate, Jr., and stars Ian Martin and Lloyd Batista. It is sponsored in part by Buick Motor Division and Contact, the 12-hour cold capsule. I'll be back shortly with Act One. Crime was an everyday national threat in every American city from the Civil War to World War I. In New York, Baltimore, Chicago, and Boston, people were afraid to walk the city streets after dusk. Citizens would be robbed, or they'd completely disappear. Gunmen fought daily battles right in the open streets. One of the most lucrative forms of crime was a train robbery, and the only law enforcement agency able to stem the tide of lawlessness were the Pinkertons. But
who can tell this story better than someone who was there?
Harold Black is the name. It makes sense for me to give you the facts about the Rock Island train robbery because I'm pretty much the only person who knows what happened. I was a brakeman on the Night Express, running out of Chicago that wintry March night with snow everywhere. I walked into the express car right behind the locomotive.
Hello, Harold. We on schedule?
As far as I know, golly, it's nice and warm in here. What are you doing?
Oh, you know, the usual. Making sure the $22,000 are all accounted for.
You got that much in the safe?
Not $1 more, not $1 less.
You're a lucky stiff, Nick. Being an express messenger is such an easy job, sitting here, doing paperwork at a desk in the express car. I really envy you.
Well, now, it's a matter of
You
fact.
can wear a collar, a shirt, and a tie in this job. Look at me. Dirty overalls, my hands all banged up, greasy from oil cans, fingernails dirty. 15 years, nowhere to go. It's too long, Nick. Nobody on the line appreciates how hard a brakeman has to work.
Well, like I told you before, Harold, I'll put in a good word for you with the chief up at U.S. Express, if you like. He's an old pal of mine. Maybe he can use an extra messenger, huh? Besides, we messengers don't do too bad when it comes to salary.
Don't rub it in.
And you could learn the work, Harold. It's easy.
I think this time I'll take you up on that. I sure could use the money with a new wife and everything. Will you ask him?
Okay, it's a promise. When we get back from New York, I'll talk to the chief.
Of course, your job's a little more dangerous than mine.
Huh? Oh, you mean train robbers? I guess I've been lucky so far.
I mean, say, one of the gangs knew you had $22,000 in that safe. They could get aboard anywhere after Joliet.
Hey, when are we due to arrive there?
Half an hour. Pick up the mail, and then our next stop is Morris.
Oh, Morris, Illinois. I've been there. What a dead town. Now, Harold, hand me the poker, will you? Fire's getting low. I want to give the stove a stir.
Here you are.
Thank you.
Well, I better be heading back, Nick. Do my train rounds.
Say hello to George G. Newton for me, will you? He's on this run of the baggage car, isn't he?
If he isn't asleep. He's supposed to sort all the baggage before we hit Morris. I'll bet anything all he's doing is snoring.
Well, wake him and tell him I said to get busy.
Okay.
I don't want to be hanging around Pennsylvania Station when we get in. Oh, hey, I forgot to ask you, Harold, what's your wife's name?
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth. That's a sweet name. I bet she's just as sweet as she sounds. Well, no kidding. I'll try to see if I can get you that job with U.S. Express. I won't be surprised, but you'd make double the money.
I'm all for that. I made the rounds, 10 cars, baggage car included, the length of the train and back. We pulled into Morris and took on water for the engine. George Newton, the baggage master, and I opened the express car door.
I'll go first.
What's the hurry, George?
Well, I've got to be sure that... Oh, Lord, no.
Huh?
Harold, look.
Nick, this is terrible.
Look, I'd better get the Pinkerton man. He's in the third car.
The safe's blown open.
Don't touch anything. If there was $22,000 in there once, it sure ain't in there now.
Look at all that blood.
Oh, I was afraid of this, Harold. I'm scared.
What do you mean?
I can't take time to explain. I'm going back for the Pinkerton man, and don't touch anything.
My name is William Pinkerton. I told the baggage man, what's his name? Newton, George Newton.
Yes, I asked him to wait in his car for me. I thought I'd speak to you first. You're,
Harold Black. I'm the brakeman.
And the name of the deceased, the express messenger?
Nicholas Kelsey.
Nicholas Kelsey. And what was the last time you saw Mr. Kelsey alive?
Not an hour ago. We were half an hour out of Joliet.
I see. He was alive when you left him?
Mr. Pinkerton, of course he was. I swear it. Good Lord, he was even going to put in a good word for me with his chief so I could perhaps get a job with U.S. Express.
Oh, why would he do that?
Well, I just got married, and it's no secret, but a brakeman on the Chicago and Rock Island didn't make much money.
I see.
Gang of train robbers must have come aboard after we left Joliet and killed him.
Mm-hmm. And you heard nothing? No shots, nothing?
I was probably as far back as the last car.
How much was in that safe, Mr. Black, or don't you know?
Well, sure I know. Nick told me. $22,000.
I see. All right, will you ask Mr. Newton to join us?
Georgie? George, Mr. Pinkerton wants to talk to you.
I'm George Newton, Mr. Pinkerton. I think I told you. Oh, Lord. This car's a mess. It looks like Nick put up an awful fight.
And what can you tell us, Mr. Newton?
Well, the way I figured it, it must have happened between the time the train left Joliet and when we stopped here in Morris. So there was this noise of broken glass, and I looked up and I saw the ventilator on the side of the baggage car was smashed. Well, at that moment, a man with a black mask over the lower part of his face came into the car.
Why didn't you call for help, Georgie? I couldn't have been far away.
Well, the masked man said that if you dare move an inch, that man up there will blow your brains out.
The man up where?
Well, there wasn't a man exactly, Mr. Pinkerton. It was a hand, a man's hand pushed through the broken ventilator, and the muzzle of a pistol pointed right at me.
And then what did you do?
Nothing, really. I just tried to keep breathing. I was rooted to the spot. Well, the man in the mask left my baggage car and went through to the express car.
How you must have felt.
Oh, I was in agony, believe me, Mr. Pinkerton. But I daren't give the alarm, you know. That gun was aimed right at my head. Well, then, finally, I guess, when we pulled into Morris, I looked up in the ventilator and the hand was gone. And just then Harold came in, and we went right into the express car, and the rest you know.
Mr. Pinkerton, do you have any idea how Nick was killed?
Looks like a pistol wound in the right shoulder. There may be others. The head wounds, I can't say what made those. Pistol whipping, maybe.
Oh, how terrible.
Mr. Newton, are you sure you didn't hear any gunshots?
Well, I couldn't swear I didn't. You know, the train makes pretty much of a racket going 50. I don't know what I was with that gun pointed at me. I don't know how many there were, but I knew they were after the money.
You didn't hear them blow out the safe?
And I wish I had. I wish I could say I did.
And how much was in it?
$22,000.
You know, or you're guessing?
Oh, no, I'm just guessing.
And no one's touched anything in this car so far, as you know.
When George was getting you, Mr. Pinkerton, I stood right there. No one came in here.
And I think I found what they beat him with.
Oh, what?
Back here in the corner. A stove poker. Yeah, it appears to be blood on it. All right. You gentlemen can return to your duties for a moment. Tell the engineer I'm impounding this express car. Have him uncouple and move it to a siding right here at the station. And then he can take the rest of the train on to New York.
You mean George and I can go along with the train?
No, I don't mean that. I'm going to need both of you to help me. I believe there's a hotel in town. Oh, yes, I can see one from here. I'll make that my headquarters. If the telegrapher is still up, have him wire Chicago to have the Rock Island put you both up at that hotel until I give the word.
George and I got rooms at the Delaney right on Thompson Street. I had the telegraph operator wire Chicago what had happened. And somebody had better notify Nick's wife, Mrs. Kelsey. I had him also get a message to Elizabeth. There'd been a delay on the run. Not to worry about me, that I was all right.
There she goes.
Seems funny to be standing here in the window of this hotel watching our train pull out, and we've got to stay here.
Listen, so long as the Rock Island pays me my wages, I don't care where I am.
I wish Elizabeth was here. She loves hotels. You know, when we left Chicago and I was talking to Nick, you know, he said this town of Morris is a dump, a dead town, he said.
Let's not talk about Nick, okay?
I wonder...
what were you going to say, Harold? You wonder what?
Oh, nothing, I guess. Just wondering why Mr. Pinkerton was so insistent on our staying here.
Well, I don't know. I don't like seeing that express car in the siding right from this window, and
knowing what's in it.
Well, we've told Mr. Pinkerton all we knew.
Well, you know, it could have been any of half a dozen gangs. The Youngers, Jamesons, Daltons, and McCoys.
Hey, Georgie, you really know your train robbers.
Well, I read the newspaper a lot. But it could have been.
Oh, sure. Could have been any of them.
What time is it, Harold?
8 o'clock.
Whew. Well, we've been up all night.
Yeah, I'm beginning to feel all this. I'd say we're entitled to the best breakfast that Delaney can come up with. Let's go on downstairs and have us one.
Agreed. After what we've been through, the best breakfast is none too good for us.
From the 1870s on, there was hardly an American train going anywhere that was not robbed. Bands of outlaws would pile on the rails, derail trains, shoot at the passengers while the express car was being dynamited. Traveling by train in those days was hell on wheels. Only the Pinkertons, with their network of operatives, were equipped to fight off the bandit buccaneers and murderers. I'll be back shortly with Act Two. Even before the Iron Horse started rolling the rails across country, the Pinkertons chased and captured desperados and stagecoach bandits. Before there was even a thought of a Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Pinkertons were the only law enforcement agency of any size who could get any results. Allen Pinkerton, who founded the agency in 1850, set a pace and a practice never forgotten by his two sons, William and Robert. In the early days, the Pinkertons pursued lawbreakers on horseback. Now they were tracking and trailing by telephone.
Hello? Robert? Bob, are you there?
Is that you, Billy?
Yeah. Well, how's everything in Denver?
Busy? Hey, we got 5 inches of snow here.
We got 12 where I am.
Where's that, you lucky bum?
Morris, Illinois. The Rock Island was robbed of $22,000.
With you on the train, Billy? Oh, what kind of a Pinkerton are you?
All right, Bob, now cut that out. You know very well we try to apprehend robbers, not anticipate them.
Any clues?
Well, not too many. There were 2 robbers, according to a witness, the baggage master on the train. One held him at bay, and the other must have killed the messenger and dynamited the safe.
Could have been more than 2. What did they use?
Looks like number 4 dino.
The coarse grain dynamite?
I'd say. The messenger was shot. I'm having the bullets removed from the body now, see if I can identify it.
Sounds like the Wild Bunch. They've been hitting Illinois.
Butch Cassidy? No, I'm not so sure. In addition to being shot, the messenger's skull was smashed in with a poker. That's not Cassidy style.
So what have you got to go on, Billy?
Well, the eyewitness account and the clues don't match up. Right here, outside the Morris Depot, I found a black mask a few feet from the express car, but not one footprint. And I walked the track in 12 inches of snow. Well, the baggage man claims he was threatened from the top of the car, but there are no footprints there either.
No, that's not a gang, then. I say, what's your next move, Billy?
I'm not sure. I need to do a little more talking, a little more listening. Why, do you need me, Bob?
Well, we just got word the Mobile in Ohio has been held up. They took the Southern Express Company for $20,000 and shot the express messenger in the chest.
Was it fatal?
Well, I don't know how close to death he is, but I'm leaving for Union City to try and get him to talk before he dies. Will you join me down there?
Where's down there?
Union City, Tennessee.
Okay, I will, as soon as I can.
Can you be there by Friday?
I don't know, Bob. I'll try. I'll get there when I get there.
You asked me to come up to your room, Mr. Pinkerton?
Yeah, I did, Mr. Black. You don't mind if I call you Harold?
Oh, of course, sure. Well, it's been a couple of days. Any ideas how it happened?
Oh, yeah, lots of ideas.
That's good. Does that mean I can leave this dump and get myself back to Chicago with my wife?
It certainly does.
But then you're onto something, Mr. Pinkerton.
Well, not exactly. Look, Harold, I don't mind confessing to you that there are quite a few aspects of this case which do not add up, you know. I'd even go so far as saying it's downright mysterious and, well, I'd like you to give me as much help as you can.
Whatever assistance I can be, I want to. Nick Kelsey was a good friend, and I really want to do anything I can to track down his killer.
You know George Newton, the baggage master, of course.
Georgie? Very well indeed.
Good. Harold, I want you to do a little detective work for me. There is some suspicion pointing in his direction. Now, I'm releasing you both so you can get back to Chicago. But I'm asking Rock Allen to assign you to the Home Office in case I need you both. So you won't be going out on any more runs for a few weeks.
That suits me just fine. My wife will love that. My working in the roundhouse, coming home nights. I just got married, you know.
Yeah. Now, when you're back in Chicago, I want you to associate as much as you can with George Newton and get him to talk about the case. You know, the masked man and the broken ventilator and the gun pointing at him, what time it was and so on. And each night, I want you to call the Pinkerton office in Chicago and make a full report of what you've learned that day.
I will, Mr. Pinkerton. As I said, anything I can do to bring the assassin to justice. But so far as Georgie goes, I think you're barking up the wrong tree.
That may be, Harold, but we have to bark up all the trees. You do that and we'll see what develops. I won't be in Chicago, but they'll know you by a code number.
Where are you going to be?
Right now, I've gone about as far as I can go on this case, so I'm going down to Tennessee on another train robbery. And don't forget now, you call in each night. Oh, here, let me write down the telephone number for you and the code you identify yourself with.
Keep rolling, Billy. You're doing great.
Getting bit to death with these darn chiggers, Bob. How much further is it to Lester's Landing?
Well, I think we're almost there. They told me at Hickman the landing was just 10 miles into this swamp.
Going after dark through Tennessee swamp isn't my idea of fun, believe me.
Since when was the Pinkerton Detective Agency in the amusement business?
To think a week ago I was looking for footprints in 12 inches of snow at 10 below. Must be 110 degrees right now. You're pretty sure it's the Farrington brothers we're looking for?
Absolutely. I asked the express messenger twice just to make sure I heard right. Hillary and Levi Farrington. Those were his last words before he died. Oh, he recognized them all right. He'd seen all our flyers and posters on their last job when they hit the Mobile in Ohio and Kentucky.
It's too bad we couldn't go overland to track them. Could have had a posse with us.
Well, we'll have the element of surprise. That'll help us get the drop on them.
Hey, wait a minute. Look. Got a skiff with a man in it.
Yeah, so it is. An old fellow fishing. Hey there.
Huh? Who's that?
We're looking for Lester's Landing.
Will you talk more quiet? Taxi and fishing? What you want to do? Scare my dinner away?
Sorry, we're looking for Lester's Landing.
Well, who are you? What are you Yankees doing here?
We're looking...
Bob, will you let me? How's the fishing?
Tolerable. It'd better if some folks didn't make so much noise.
My name is Bill Pink. This is my brother Bob. We're looking for two friends of ours.
You can never find friends when you want them, I always say.
Levi and Hillary Farrington. Maybe you know them.
Farrington? Never heard of them. In Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Lester's Landing, eh?
Yeah, is that far?
Just around that bend there.
Say, Billy, what'd I tell you?
I don't mix much with other folk. Keep to myself, mostly.
Oh, just around the bend, you say? Fine. Well, we'll be moving along.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, good luck, boys. Keep the powder dry. Hey, I think I got me a bite. Big one.
Billy, this is it. Let me guide you to the rowboat to the dock. Shh. I'll climb out and give you a hand.
Okay, fine. Hard to see.
I'm just as glad there isn't a moon tonight. I don't want to be spotted before we're ready.
Oh, that must be the shack they're in.
Yeah, small, isn't it? I can see some shadows around that table with the lantern on. Come on.
Let's start crawling up the dock. Keep low.
Hey, Bob.
What?
Look, we're after 2 Barringtons. But who's to say they haven't got a lot of friends with them?
Well, when we get a little closer, maybe we can hear something. Over here. Down by that window. It's open.
Don, you stupids. Now, I've been doing this for years, and the way I tell you to make the nitro soup is the honest way.
Sure, Levi. I always know everything better than anybody else.
You shut up and hear me now. Now, you take 75 sticks of dino and you thaw it out near a stove. And then you crumble it up like sawdust. See? Now, watch me. Now, pour hot water on it and stir. Slowly, stupid. Now, stir it up.
Oh, sure. But that's not the way we make it, is it, Howard?
Now, when it's smooth like that, would you watch me? Now, I squeeze it through a rag. Now, pour the water off the top. Ooh, and look in there. Ooh, look in the bottom of the can. Now, that is good, strong soup.
Now, why don't you try it my way?
Yeah, but when I need advice on how to blow a safe, I'll ask for it, huh? Now, Hillary, I want you to mosey on down to Hickman to see if you can locate some more dino. Now, they've been blasting the road down there. Now, you just help yourself to as many sticks as you can carry. Now, do you hear me, boy?
There he goes. That's Hillary, Levi's brother.
I'll follow him. Can you handle Levi and whoever else is in there?
Yeah, I'll just walk in that screen door and play it by ear. I can always shout out and pretend we surrounded the place with a posse. If it looks bad, I'll shoot out the lantern.
I better go, Billy, before I lose Brother Hillary. Good luck.
Hi there. Anyone home?
Who's that?
Well, I think I'm lost. I'm looking for Tiptonville Road.
Oh, are you?
No, it's around here somewhere.
How did you get here, stranger?
Well, matter of fact, a road.
Oh, you just little old road, huh?
Yeah, got the mosquito bites to prove it.
Oh, and now, what'd you say your name was?
Well, I didn't say.
That's him. That's the fella I was telling you about, Levi.
Well, hi there, old man. I didn't expect to see you here.
That's him, all right, Levi. Said he was a friend of yours. Oh, as a friend of mine, huh? Now, let me hold up this lantern a little higher to see him better. Well, I always like to welcome old friends. You know your name, Levi. Hillary. Said his name was Bill Pink. Bill Pank. That's Bill Pinkerton. He shut out the light.
I warn you, Farrington, this is the end of the line. Put down your guns and put up your hands.
Maybe I can't see you, Pinkerton, but I can hear you.
All right, men. Move on in. We got a 50-man posse outside.
I'm shot, Levi. I'm here. I can't see a cursed.
Hold your fire, men. Farrington may want to stay alive. He's ready to give up.
Not so long as I have any ammunition left. Levi, help me. Help me. You killed the old man.
Levi Farrington, I just put your brother out of commission. Will you come quietly? Come get...
Billy, where are you? Over here. Levi was trying to get away. I tackled him.
Oh. All right. Wait, let me light this lantern. Oh, Billy, you did it. Levi is out cold.
Well, it makes it easy to snap the handcuffs on him.
Oh, there's a body over here on the floor. Isn't that the old man we ran into fishing?
Yeah, how is he?
Looks like his fishing days are over.
Yeah, kept the wrong company. You'd think at his age he'd know better. Where's Hillary Farrington?
Oh, he's out there handcuffed to a tree. Oh, my Lord, Billy, your shoulder's bleeding.
Well, those slugs fly around everywhere in the dark. You got your corn knife handy, Bob?
Oh, sure I do.
Here, give me the lantern. I'll hold it. Okay, take your knife, Bob, and dig out the slug.
This is going to hurt a little.
Yeah, don't you worry, Bob. That little old bullet has done me a big favor.
Hold still. What favor?
Sure helps me to forget those mosquito bites.
Snow, swamps, mountains, forests, trails, whatever the terrain or the weather, Robert and William Pinkerton did more to put an end to train robberies than any other security outfit in the world. The Farrington case closed, Robert returned to Denver headquarters. William went back to Chicago. The case of the Rock Island theft and murder was yet to be solved. I'll be back shortly with Act 3.
This is WBBM Chicago, News Radio 78. Correct time 11:06. It's 33 degrees at Midway Airport.
The accomplishments of the Pinkertons has set the example for all the law enforcement agencies that have come after. What was their system? How did they either capture or kill or gather evidence that put an end to every train or bank robbery? Their secret: keep moving, never rest. Pursue the criminal on horseback across oceans, never letting up until he is either dead or behind bars. That was the Pinkerton Method.
Robert? Bob, is that you?
Of course it is, Billy.
I can't get used to this telephone invention.
It's not that newfangled.
Oh, here I am in Chicago and talking to you, Bob, in Denver like it's in the next room.
What's the problem, Billy? Oh, by the way, how's the shoulder?
Oh, that's doing fine. Good thing it's my left arm. I don't mind having that bandaged up and in a sling. Look, Bob, I tell you what I called you about. You remember the Rock Island case and our best witness, Harold Black, the brakeman?
Yes, I do. What about him?
Well, I took him into my confidence and had him do a little detective work following the baggage master, George Newton, and reporting to the office every day while I was in Tennessee with you. I also had our operatives follow the both of them. Now, I've been going over what our man says about Newton's movements and comparing them with Harold Black's reports. And they just don't jive.
Say that again, Billy. I don't think I caught that.
Well, I said the reports phoned in by the brakeman are all made up. They're all lies. The places Newton is supposed to have gone to and so on, you know.
Oh, I'd say from here, looks like they're in this thing together.
Well, it sure looks like it. Anyway, Bob, the reason I put through this call to you is that Harold Black has asked for leave of absence from the Rock Island. I told the general superintendent to grant it, and Black is starting west with his new wife. Keep him under surveillance, will you, Bob?
Mr. and Mrs. Harold Black is how we marked the tags on our luggage. It was really like a honeymoon. And Elizabeth and I were sure looking forward to it. Elizabeth wanted us first to go to Niagara Falls, but I said, let's head west first. On the way home, we'll make a side trip to the falls. Women are romantic that way. So off we went, westward. Everything we saw, everywhere we went, we had ourselves a great old time. And, of course, we had money to spend.
Come in, Mr. Newton.
Mr. Pinkerton, I'm glad to see you again. You've been away from Chicago on another case.
Yes, I have. I have to stop by, Mr. Newton. Oh, by the way, you don't mind if I call you George?
Sure, not at all.
George, I thought I'd like you to tell me again just what you remember.
Hey, well, I'm glad to, Mr. Pinkerton. It's fresh in my mind, like that awful morning when I last saw you. But I guess things like that happen every day in your life. But not for me. I like quiet life.
I've been keeping track of your quiet life, George.
Keeping track of me? Do you mean...
I'm afraid I do. I had you followed. Yes, George.
Well, I'll be... Am I under suspicion?
In a case like this, everyone is suspect. Well, it's a little warm in here. I don't know why they keep these offices so hot. I've asked them not to.
No, I don't mind.
Why don't you take your overcoat off?
No, I wouldn't bother. I don't expect to be with you that long.
You sure it's not too hot for you?
No. Oh, and now you want me to remember it all over again, huh? Well, here goes. As I told you 2 weeks ago, I was moving boxes in the baggage car, and, I'd say it happened between the time we left Joliet and stopped at Morris. Now, there was this noise of broken glass. Well, I looked up, and I saw the ventilator that had been smashed. And at that moment, a man with a black mask over the lower part of his face came in the car and said, "If you dare move an inch, that man up there will blow your brains out." Huh? Well, I looked up, and the muzzle of a pistol was pointed right at me through the broken ventilator. Well, the man with the mask left, When we pulled into Morris, I looked up again, and the hand holding the pistol was gone. And, well, that's what I remember, Mr. Pinkerton.
Mm-hmm. Word for word.
What do you mean?
That's just the way you told it to me last time. Word for word.
Yeah. Is that suspicious?
Well, let's say it isn't usual. George, are you sure you don't always take your coat off? As I say, this office has always been overheated.
All right, yes, sure.
And it'd be easier if you'd first take off your gloves, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, my goodness, whatever happened to your hands?
Yes, they're pretty scratched up, aren't they? But that's the nature of my job.
What is? Here, I'll hang your coat up.
Handling baggage is rough on them.
Well, I thought the Rock Island gave you a desk job since you came back here to Chicago.
Yeah, they did. These scratches, well, I'd say they happened months ago.
Takes a long time to heal, doesn't it?
May I ask, Mr. Pinkerton, when your man followed me, I mean...
Well, actually, you were followed by two men. One was our Pinkerton operative, and the other was a friend of yours. Oh, would you like to see his report?
A friend of mine? You're kidding.
Well, that he was. Here. Have a look at his report.
Yeah. Report on George Newton by Harold Black. Harold? You don't actually mean it.
I certainly do mean it. In your hand is 1 week of reports, including Sunday. Where you went, what you did, what you two talked about.
I don't believe it. Why, that dirty, two-tiny bigamist.
Bigamist? Harold Black?
Oh, yeah, you didn't know about your pet spy, did you? So he two-timed me just like he two-timed his own wife. Huh? Yeah, oh, yeah, he's got a wife in Philadelphia and 2 children. Deserted them last year.
So Elizabeth is not Harold's wife?
Oh, no, she thinks she is. But, no, she's a nice girl. She's too nice for him. That's what makes me so darn mad.
Yeah, well, the things that finally come to light, huh?
So, frankly, if I were you, Mr. Pinkerton, I'd take Harold's reports about me with a grain of salt.
Well, I'll most assuredly bear that in mind. All right, George, I won't keep you any longer today.
I can go now?
Yeah. Oh, and George, you should have those hands looked at. You wouldn't want to get an infection. It was just bad luck. I should have waited a little longer before flashing those 50s and 100s. But the feel of having big money was just too much for me, I guess. And sweet Elizabeth. Oh, she was having the time of her life. Omaha, Tulsa, Albuquerque, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and then California. Seeing all the sights, theaters, shows, restaurants, we had ourselves a time. It was sheer luck that day in San Francisco that she was upstairs in the hotel room resting. I was alone downstairs in the bar when I felt a hand on my shoulder.
Harold Black?
Yes. Who are you?
Robert Pinkerton. I believe you've made the acquaintance of my brother, William.
Oh, I certainly have. Wonderful fella.
Enjoying yourself?
You bet. My wife and I have never been to San Francisco before.
Oh, I thought your wife was in Philadelphia.
What?
Don't make a fuss. Have you paid for your drink?
Yes.
Then finish it quietly. Take your hat and coat and come with me.
But I haven't done anything. This is my vacation.
It's as far from Philadelphia as you're going to get, Mr. Black. Come along.
What's the charge?
Bigamy.
Who told you?
Your friend George Newton told us.
George?
And we checked it out and found your real wife. Those are 2 fine children you left behind you.
Mr. Pinkerton, did George say anything else about me?
Oh, yes. A few things. Finish up your drink, Mr. Black. Let's go.
Pinkerton turned me over to the police, who escorted me back to Chicago. I told Elizabeth to stay in San Francisco and not to worry. I'd be back, I said. I got me a good lawyer, and with $2,000 cash bail, I was a free man again. For just about 1 hour. Then I was rearrested, charged with murder. That was bad.
Very bad.
I'm still in San Francisco with well, I guess you'd call it the second Mrs. Black, Elizabeth.
Oh, any progress, Bob?
I had a little talk with her, and I think she trusts me. I told her I would try to help her. She's really too nice a girl to be involved with this Harold character. Anyway, she has an explanation where Harold got the money he's been throwing around.
I'd like to hear it.
She says he found it under a seat in one of the passenger cars.
Found it?
Well, that's what he told her, Billy. I'm mailing you all the money she had in her luggage so you can check the serial numbers against the U.S. Express record.
All right, thank you, Bob. I'll take it from there.
Well, good luck. Say, any news on your end?
Well, we got a medical report that says they discovered human skin underneath the fingernails of the deceased. Looks like to save his life, he scratched someone pretty bad.
The trouble was, I didn't know how much the Pinkertons knew. I didn't know how much Elizabeth knew or had told them. Worst of all, I couldn't be sure of George. Was he in cahoots with the Pinkertons? I didn't know, but I didn't think so. Because if he started the scene, he must be aware I know the same tune. If he ratted on me, I sure wasn't going to take the rap alone.
Harold, we got a visitor, George Newton. Hi, Harold. I'll leave you two. I've got some business with the chief of police. Well, locking me in here, huh? You don't trust us.
Should they, Georgie? Should anyone?
What do you mean, Harold?
All I'm asking is, are you to be trusted?
Well, what a question. Of course I am. I'm your friend.
Are you, Georgie? Who was it who told the Pinkertons I had a wife in Philadelphia? Would a friend say that?
Now, hold on. Now, if you're talking about friendship, would a friend peek on me, huh? Give reports to the Pinkertons about where I went, what we talked about?
You stupid fool. I didn't tell them a thing. Made it all up. They wanted information on you, so I pretended to go along with them to take the heat off it.
Not so loud. Now, listen. I asked to see you, saying I wanted to straighten things out with your wife in Philadelphia. Now, Pinkerton's onto something. He saw these hands, see? I don't know if he believed that I got it handling baggage or not, but why he didn't believe me, that's what I want to know. Why is he suspicious?
That's your problem. Georgie, I don't want to talk to you. I'm the one charged with murder. You're out there free.
No, I am not going to say anything.
You'd better not.
You better not threaten me. The whole thing was your idea.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
Is that what you're going to tell the Pinkertons? I don't play footsie with them or send them reports like some people I know.
Don't fool yourself, Georgie. With this, it was all my idea business. If I go, you go. You're the one who shot Nick. He was already dead when I hit him with that poker.
That's crazy. I got him in the shoulder. The gun went off because he was fighting like a tiger, clawing at me. I wasn't going to kill him. Now, you're the one who panicked when your mask fell off, and you thought you recognized you, so you smashed his skull with that poker.
You liar, you...
Help! Let me out of here! The man's crazy!
Hold on there. What's the trouble?
Get me out of here, Mr. Pinkerton.
You're a liar. That's what you are, a dumb liar.
All right, now take it easy, Harold. Okay, George. Let's move along. Well, am I glad you were handy. That man's a wild beast.
George Newton is just as guilty as anyone. Don't let him get away.
It's too bad. Harold's gone off his head. Let me see your hands, George. Both of them. Hey, Mr. Pinkerton, what you putting handcuffs on me for? Only for a few minutes, George. Until we can book you and find an empty cell for you. You were listening. Well, voices carry. And the chief of police and I were right there in the next cell. George Newton, you're under arrest. The charge is murder.
Every dollar from the train robbery, except what Harold and Elizabeth had spent on their wild vacation, was recovered. Their marriage, of course, was invalid. Both Harold Black and George Newton stood trial for the Rock Island robbery and the murder of the express messenger, Nicholas Kelsey. I shall return shortly to report to you the verdict. Rock Island Railroad robbers was a quick one. One juryman, however, did not believe in capital punishment, so they were sent to the penitentiary for life. Over the years, the Pinkertons never boasted of their achievement. When asked, all they would say was, "It's all in a day's work." Diligence, doggedness, studying character, knowing your man, that was their day's work. That was the Pinkerton Method. Our cast included Ian Martin, Lloyd Batista, Nat Boland, and Earl Hammond. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale.
He won't admit anything.
There is no more loyal servant on the island.
To you, not to me.
Yes, master. There have been too many accidents lately, Fonseca. Lady believes there's a hex. Now, do you believe that?
I have not know, master. It fell on a lady. Zananda from Brixton.
Well, Lisa, is that what you want? And to send Fonseca down the mountain to the jungle and bring that witch woman up here for tea and mumbo-jumbo?
I don't want any witch near me. What kind of a place do I live in where there are witches? I want you to sell the estate and take me away.
I can't do that.
I speak, master.
Yes, Fonseca.
Not safe. Ladies, stay. It's best lady go. From Ceylon.
Radio Mystery Theater was sponsored in part by True Value Hardware Stores. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time...